only thing we kind of have to work off of right now. How many of you guys have heard of iCEV before? All right, pretty much everybody. Good deal. So just to kind of give you a little bit of background on our company, we are based in Texas. We were actually founded by an ag science teacher in Washington State. And Gordon now he's 71, 72, somewhere around there. But whenever he was first getting his start at in Washington State teaching ag, he found out he loved animal science. He loved meat science. He absolutely hated plant science. Oh, I think I've got audio on you guys now, except there's a lot of feedback. Hello?
Hey, Dusty, check 1, 2. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Perfect.
Rock on, bros. Hopefully this works good. If it's not, we'll mute it when you're talking.
Okay, perfect. All right, so well, and I am getting a little feedback, a little echo. You still there? Okay, if you guys can still hear me, I'm just going to go ahead, and then when you guys have questions, just unmute it and ask the question, okay? So, but anyways, Gordon was an animal science guy, and he was a meat science guy, but he was not a plant science guy. And he always felt like he was doing a disservice to his students there in the plant science classes. And so he was always looking for different ways in order to be able to bring experts into the classroom. And after he finished, he finished at Washington State, and then he went on to Texas A&M to get his master's and his PhD. And whenever he started actually doing his teaching in meat science at the university level, that's whenever he figured out, and VHS tapes started to become more and more popular. And so that's when he figured out he could take a camera to a meat cooler and do all sorts of different things with that and be able to bring that into his classroom instead of having his class always go into, say, a slaughter facility or something like that. So that's kind of how our company was born. It started off with a few different meats tapes or videotapes about meat science, and then just kind of he saw that there was a demand for that, and it kind of kept growing and growing and growing. So, about 4 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, somewhere around there, as we saw that technology was changing, and schools are typically a few years behind the average, consumer household in regards to the technology they have in the actual the school. But one of the things that we noticed, obviously, the emergence of Netflix and YouTube and all these different things was, how everything was moving online. And so our big goal was to be able to basically take all of our library, which we've got a library of about 50,000 edited minutes of video, and put all of that online to where we almost had like a Netflix for ag science teachers, where an ag science teacher could log in, get access to all the different lessons that we have to offer, customize it, etc. So that's kind of how we came up with iCEV. So with that being said, we'll just go ahead and kind of walk through how you would actually utilize the product. And then after that, we can take questions to see if I answered everything, okay? So basically, the website is icevonline.com. And whenever you get here, you're going to go ahead and click login. And then you're going to put in your username and your password. After you put in your username and password, the very first time that you log in, you're going to see a screen like this, where basically we're going to walk you through and say, okay, tell us what you're teaching so we can start pulling those resources for you. So all you have to do is follow the green buttons here. So we're going to go ahead and click this Start Setting Up Your Courses button. And then step 1, here we've got some verbiage here that I don't know if anybody has ever read, but basically it's really easy. We're just going to come in here and select the courses that we're teaching. So I'm going to go ahead and click Select a Course Playlist, and then that's going to pull up all of our ag science courses. Now we pretty much have, just about every single ag science course that might be offered. Now at your school, it might be a different name than this, but obviously you're going to be able to find a similar type of course here on iCEV for what you're teaching. So, and then also you've got the ability to scroll. A lot of people miss the scrolling piece here, because not only do we have courses, we also have our career development events. So things like dairy cattle judging, livestock evaluation, equine evaluation, those different contests. we have some playlists put together to help you coach those teams. And then down here, we also have our subject area playlists. And the subject area playlists are our certifications, and then also a couple of other different, like welding and things like that. Basically, we just try to put some of our hot pieces together to where it's a playlist where you have all of them. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go through and I'm going to select a few different things that I am going to be teaching. So I'm going to go ahead and click Animal Science here. And then after that, I'm going to click the next button. And then at this point, it's give it a name. So, a lot of teachers will say, this is first period animal science. Just kind of give it a name that you recognize or that you want to put on your My Courses page. After that, you've got the options to either click finished or add another course. I'm going to go ahead and click add another course, and it's going to take me right back through this loop. So I'm going to select another course. And so let's do, say, public speaking. And I'm going to click next, and I'm going to say this one is second period public speaking. Then I'm going to click add another course here. And this time I'm going to go, say I'm coaching a livestock judging team. So I'm going to come down here and click this Introduction to Livestock Judging and Grading. So I'm going to call this one Livestock Judging Practice. And then I'm going to add one more. So I'm going to click Add Another Course and then select a course. And let's see here, where's that one at? I'm going to click this Blue and Gold Basics series. And what that is, that's kind of our FFA basics. So it's really good for those incoming FFA students. So I'm going to go ahead and click that and call it FFA Basics. And then after I have that done, I'm going to click Finished. And what that's going to do is it's going to load up my Courses page right here. So on this page, this is your page. You can have as many different courses on this page as you want to. So, and while we've put together like a full course on, say, animal science, you can also just put together modules. So say you wanted a course on just like animal genetics and you picked out the best animal genetics lessons we had, you can do that as well. There's always a button up here that says Add New Course. And when you click on that, it's going to take you right back to this loop. The only difference is it's right up here. You're going to see a button right up here where it says create a custom course. And if you did that, then basically you just start from scratch. You would enter your course title here. And then here you would actually get into our library. And I'll show you kind of how you can navigate that and use that here in a second. So as we kind of look at this My Courses page, on the left-hand side, obviously that is the name of the course. But what this middle column is, and some people get kind of confused by the middle column, that's the last viewed lesson. So the last lesson that you clicked on, we're going to put a link there so you can get back to it pretty easily. Most of our lessons take over a day to complete. So we put that link in there to help you get to where you need to be with it. Then right over here is how we actually go and view the course. And then there's also a drop-down arrow where we can do a few things like the customize. And these are just shortcuts that you're going to see from on the next screen. So let's go ahead and click View Course and view this animal science course. So as we start off here, all the different lessons that we've got in the animal science course. So you can see we've got several different lessons that make up this course. Now, our curriculum team has gone through, they've developed the lessons, and then after they developed the lessons, they've put it in a sequence that made sense to them. That basically, this is how I would go about teaching this animal science course. But just because they thought that was the way to teach it, doesn't mean that's the way that you want to teach it. So we give you the ability within every single course to come in and customize it. So if I click Customize this course, it's going to take you to a screen where on the right-hand side, right over here where it says Selected Lessons, these are the lessons that are already in that course. And so say I'm teaching this animal science course, and for some reason I wanted to start with animal behavior. I can click on that, and I can just hold down my mouse and just move that up to the top. So I can just rearrange these and put them in whatever order I want to put them in. If, say, you're not going to cover like quality grading or something like that, and you don't want to do this lesson, you just click remove. And when you click remove, what that does is it puts it right over here back into our library. So I had mentioned on the customized course, when you create a custom course, we kind of give you the keys to the library. You actually have the keys to the library no matter what course you're in, whether it's you're creating your own course or you're customizing one of our courses. And so here in our library, you've got a few different ways to look through and see if there's any lessons that you want to add into this course. First way is to search. And so if I come in here and search for, say, genetics and click go, it's going to pull up all of the different lessons that we have that deal with genetics. So now one thing to remember is that we are not exactly Google. So whenever you're doing your searching, keep it pretty broad. And in any sort of typos and stuff, it's basically going to affect that search. So as you're searching, if you're searching for livestock breeds, I would just type in, livestock breeds, something like that. I wouldn't get too specific because it's really going to narrow your options in the lessons that you get back. In fact, I don't typically search a whole lot. What I would rather do is browse by subject, because this really gives me a full idea of what each lesson we have, or the lessons in each category. So if I click browse by subject here, it's going to pull up all of our different agriculture science subject areas. So sticking on that animal systems genetics, so I'm going to come down here and click animal systems genetics, and it's going to pull up the lessons that we've got that fit in that subcategory. And so I can preview it, and when you click preview, it's just going to pull up the actual either the video or the PowerPoint and give you a description and how long it is. And you can actually flip through the PowerPoint or actually watch the video. And if you like that and you want to add it to your class, you just click add, and then right down here at the bottom, here it is, animal genetics. So I can put that and move it wherever I want to put it. The main thing to remember on this screen is when you're done, click finished. So we have some people that just click the back button, and if you do that, it's not going to save your work for you. So always click finished. So now that I've got this course the way I want it, let's go in and actually take a look at some of the lessons. So I'm going to go look at first this one, the livestock industry. So when I click view on the lesson, the number one thing with us, and I mentioned it earlier as we were getting started, we got our start as a video company. And, in our opinion, there's no other subject area like ag science that lends itself to video in the classroom. I mean, to be able to see all the different things and to see agriculture across the country, in fact, across the world, video just really lends itself to that subject area very, very well. And so the main thing is that what we do not have is a PDF or a textbook on screen. Your main instructional vehicle for every single lesson is either going to be a video or it's going to be a PowerPoint. So a slide deck that you can actually lecture through, and you've got all the different pieces there to work with. Now, the one thing with video is, so even though we have, our 40-minute videos, and the number one thing we talk about in professional development with teachers is the press play and walk away style of teaching with video. That's not how you use video. That's not the most effective way to use video in the classroom. And what I mean there is, even though this right here, this one video can take up a full class length, notice how it's broken down into sections. We break it down that way so it's easier for you to actually
Origins of life.
So it's easier for you to actually go through and teach this section. You and your students watch the section, and then after you watch the section, you're discussing the section. You've got several different discussion questions, et cetera, about what you just watched within that section of video. Each lesson has a lesson plan right up here. So if I click view lesson plan, it's going to pull it up and it's going to say, okay, this is a 27-minute video. Here's the goal, the description, the objectives. Here we've got the common core standards and the common technical core. And then if I keep scrolling down, it's going to drive me to the lesson plan. The lesson plan is based on a 50-minute class period, and really it's just meant to be a roadmap into kind of the minds of our curriculum team as they were writing this lesson. So it's really just a resource for you to take a look at and say, okay, this is kind of their thoughts as they were designing that lesson, but obviously you can teach it however you want to teach it. It's really just meant to be a starting point for you. Now, one thing you'll notice right over here where it says career connections. So this is kind of a neat deal that we've added to all of our lessons, or most of our lessons. Not all of them have it, but most of them do. Is that, you know, the main thing that we look at within, you know, agriculture science is a subject area within career and technical education. So talking about the careers and showing the different careers and promoting all the careers within agriculture, we've added these career interviews to where basically you can come in here and click on one of these interviews, and we try to tie it to the lesson. So we try to find people that relate to that lesson, and we do quick 5-minute to 10-minute interviews with them about their job and their career path. So she's a livestock sustainability consultant, and so she's just going to go through and talk about, you know, what she does on a day-to-day basis, how she got started in that job, what she loves about that job, challenges with the job, etc. So you can find those by just clicking that drop-down menu. And then here, like on this one, we've got about 7 or 8 different interviews you can use. One thing also is right underneath the video or the PowerPoint, and you'll see these referenced within the lesson plan. But you know, a video or a PowerPoint alone is not enough. So we also have several different projects, activities. Here we've got, you know, vocabulary handouts. So there's a glossary basically for each lesson to show the students the main vocab terms. You know, the worksheet, and the worksheets get a bad rap sometimes in the classroom. What this is, how we tried to structure our worksheets, they help the students take notes on the video. So one of the things that we heard a lot from teachers that were using the product was, you know, these videos are great, but sometimes it's difficult for a student to go through and take notes. So what we did with our worksheets was basically we just made it go in chronological order with the video and left the blank spots to where are kind of the high subject areas that the students need to fill in as they're watching the video. And so that's really helped students with their note-taking ability as they're going through and watching the videos in class. And then we also down here have the assessments. And so each lesson is going to have at least one assessment. And these are typically, you know, we'll have section quizzes, which are like five question quizzes. And then, you know, our end of lesson quiz is typically 10 to 20 questions. Not meant to be a semester exam or a 6 weeks exam or those types of questions, but basically just making sure the student understands all of the objectives that were covered within that video or that PowerPoint. So one thing new that and I say new, it's been around for a couple of years with iCEV, are our student licenses. And what the student licenses allow the students to do is they can actually log in. They can view the video or they can view the PowerPoint, and then they can also do the interactive activities and interactive assessments down here. So if I just clicked on like this interactive assessment here, it's going to pull up, and this is the exact same as that printable assessment, but it's all done online to where when the student is done and they click finished, it gives them automatic feedback on what they got right, what they got wrong, and how they scored on the exam. And it also will put that grade for you in your iCEV grade book. The biggest thing with the student licenses basically is you've got the ability, so within each one of these different lessons, so like let me pull up basic reproduction of animals here. Within each one of these lessons, you know, here you've got the PowerPoint. Down here we've got like the printable resources. Here we've got the interactive activities and the interactive assessments. But with those student licenses, we give you the ability to turn each piece in here on or off for the student. So when your students log in, say it's test day and you don't want them to be able to see the PowerPoint or the video, you can just uncheck that box, and when the students log in, they can't see that video or they can't see that PowerPoint. Say you don't want them to do, for instance, you don't want them to see like this crossword or the animal dissection. You just want them to see the project or activity that you're working on that day. You can just turn all of those different pieces off to where when the student logs in, it's never even an option to them. You can also turn off an entire lesson. So like right here where it says lesson visibility settings, I'm going to go ahead and click show, and it's going to pull up some options for each lesson. So like this animal behavior, I can either choose to have it visible to students, hidden from students, or we can make it visible on a particular date. So say I'm gone to National FFA Convention for a week and I'm leaving work for my students. When you leave the work for your students, it always seems inevitable that you're going to have that one student that's going to go through and finish all their work that first day. So that way the other 4 days they don't have anything to do. With this, you can actually go through and program when it shows up for the students. So you can set it up on calendar dates to when it's actually going to show up for the students in their class. So those are just a few of the things. So even though there's a lot, and whenever the student logs in, there's a lot for them to see, you can really control it and make it as granular as you want in regards to what the students actually see and can do on the platform. Last thing that I'll cover before kind of open it up for question are certifications. And so one of the things that we noticed, and let me go through and add one of those certifications really quickly here. So I'm going to add that. Let's do the Elanco Fundamentals of Animal Science certification. Elanco Animal Science. So one of the things that we heard a lot from teachers as well as administrators was the need for more industry certifications in the agriculture subject area. And again, agriculture being a part of career and technical education, there's really been a big movement within career and technical education to get students industry certifications that they can have as they are graduating from high school. So when you think about it, like in the IT world, you've got like your Microsoft Office certification, you've got, your various like C++ or Cisco networking type certifications. But in agriculture, it's not really a certification-based subject area. However, we're seeing, like with Perkins funding and things like that, that they're wanting to measure how many students are getting certified. So teachers asked us for several years, to start working and doing some certifications. We've never felt like that's our job because CEV is really not qualified to certify anybody in anything. But what we did finally figure out is that we could, and we had the technology to actually work with companies like Elanco to where we could work with Elanco to develop that certification. And then now we also have a testing platform in iCEV to where we can test the students for their certifications. So through that, we've gotten 12 different certifications right now. And so this one right here is the Elanco Animal Science certification. And the way it works is the students are going to go through the modules. And so this one right here has about 15 different modules. And the students are actually going to go through and they have to score above a 70 on each module. After they have completed all the different modules, what that does is it opens up a final certification exam, which is a 100-question exam that basically covers the objectives of all of these different modules. So they are very rigorous exams. And a student has to score above a 70 on that 100-question exam to get certified. And I know we've done a couple of case studies with one of your former students, student teachers, Jillian, who is now, I believe, teaching in Georgia. But Jillian had a student teaching position in Ohio, and her and Stephanie Jolliffe, her, I guess her main teacher, they did a lot in regards to using iCEV with Google Classroom in order to get kids certified. And I can send you guys the link to that, to some of the different things that they've done in regards to how they've kind of promoted how they did that. But the certification area, we see that as growing. And so we're working with a lot of different industry partners at this point to offer more certifications. The biggest thing is that these are not CEV or iCEV certifications. They are Elanco. So when a student receives this certification, they are receiving the certification from Elanco or from the American Meat Science Association or from Bear Crop Sciences. So that's really kind of the basics in regards to the certification piece. Last year, I think we had about 1,500 kids earn agriculture certifications. And so that's a number that we see growing every single year. With that being said, I mean, that's really the last two things I'll point out to you, because we covered this pretty quickly. But these two buttons up here, number one thing we see with the system is just being there for support. And so this green button right up here, and that's supposed to be a whistle, but to me it looks a lot more like a hairdryer. But what that is, that's our chat button. And so you can click on that between, I guess on your time, Eastern time zone, it'll be from 6 a.m. till 4 p.m. And what that does is it connects you with one of our customer service representatives. And you can go through and just chat with our customer service representative, and get any of your questions answered pretty quickly. The other button right up here is a button to schedule online training. So we offer, again, the biggest thing for us is professional development and working with teachers on how to actually implement and use the product. So this button is available, anytime, and you can go through and click that. And you guys feel free to do this as well when you're actually out doing your student teaching. But basically, you come in and choose the date and time that works for you. And so say like on this deal, you're not available till 10:15. Just go ahead and select 10 o'clock and then put down here in your notes, hey, call me at 10:15. But we actually do a live training session. So it is not like an online course, or it's not, a couple of videos that kind of show you how to do something. We'll actually do a webinar with you and call you, and you've got somebody one-on-one that you can ask questions to. So it's a very personable approach to do professional development. You also have up here a support tab. So if you click on that support page, it's going to go through and we have videos on, like if you were going to how to view your courses, you could click on that and pull up a video that just kind of walks you through how to do that. So the support piece is really something that we work hard at, because we want to make sure we connect with teachers and everybody feels comfortable using the product. With that being said, I guess, that's the basics. I guess we can open it up for questions and unmute it now.
Great. Can you hear us?
I can.
Wonderful. We do have some questions. First up, I think, is Matt Ryder in the back there.
Hi, I'm wondering do you provide any sort of resources to help us basically convince our administration to spend the money on the product and where to use it?
We do. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little bit of a background noise there. If you want to mute it until okay. So we do, we actually have like a funding guide. And so that's one of the things that it's really kind of amazing whenever you're working with teachers and school districts. There are so many different sources of funding. You've got Title I funding, you've got IDEA funding, you've got special ed funding. And a lot of times with teachers, we get so busy that, we look at our own little program budget or our program budget, and we think we've got to make everything fit into that one little program budget area. But in reality, there's a lot of different funding sources out there. And so we actually have sales reps in each state, and we have a rep or two reps that kind of share Ohio and Pennsylvania. And that's their number one thing, is they go through and actually work with administrators to find the funding to help you implement it. So we've got a lot of different resources. We've got the funding guide. We actually have a funding, she calls herself the funding doctor. And she used to work for the U.S. Department of Education, and then also a few state departments of education. So she knows funding inside and out. And so we give our customers her, to where if she ever needs to talk to an administrator on why, our product fits into a certain funding type, you've got that available. So, sorry, long answer of a way to say yes, we do.
Okay, we have another question here from Michael.
So I was looking at the certification and the different assessments there. And when I click on one of the assessments, it says that to access this page, you need student licenses. And I'm pretty sure we have the student licenses available to us. So I don't know how to make it so that iCEV knows that my account has student.
Good question. So we can do that on our end. And what we did last year was, so typically when you guys do the student teaching piece, we just give you the teacher access. But what we said was, hey, if you're interested and you want to do the students and you want to do the certifications, since Jillian had such success doing it, we said, just send me an email and I will get you fixed up with the student licenses. So Michael, if you want to do that, then let me know and we'll get you fixed up with the student licenses. And that way you can at least look and see what those interactive pieces look like. In fact, it'd probably be good for me to just set everybody up with one student license. And then that way, as you kind of go out and do your student teaching, if you wanted to do more, then let us know and we can add those to your account then. So thanks for bringing that up, Michael.
Matthew has another question for you.
You mentioned that during the videos, you would pause the video after watching, like maybe the first one, and then there was discussion questions. Are those discussion questions that we create, or have you created those already to go with those videos?
So you would create them for the most part. That's one thing our curriculum team is working on, is going back and adding those discussion questions. You can get several of those from those the quizzes that kind of come in between each section, but those are more, just question and answer type. But you could take a look at those and really kind of easily be able to turn those into a discussion type of a question. So right now you would kind of it'd be up to you to kind of develop those discussion questions, but that is something that we are working on now for the future. And that's one thing too we really love about it, this product, is that, so the number one knock that we used to get, and you guys were probably, you're not that far removed from your high school ag classrooms, was the fact that how many old VHS tapes or DVDs did you guys watch, from your high school ag classes? That's the number one knock that you get. Like a textbook dates just as quickly as a video does, but with video, with hairstyles and things like that, it just shows up a lot more, it just is in your face a lot more. And so what we really love with our online product is we can go through and update it and get it out to you. So we actually add new lessons to it every week. And that's part of the product, is that you don't have to pay for the new features. You don't have to pay for the new lessons or anything like that. That's just part of your subscription. So again, it's just like Netflix. When Netflix adds new shows, you get them. It's when you log in, it's there. Same with us. And so that's one of the things that we really like about it, is because it keeps the product fresh. And a subject area like agriculture, technology is always changing. And so it's good to have those pieces in there.
Kayla has a question for you.
Yeah, you mentioned that when Jill used the certifications, she made it work with Google Classroom really well. I just wondered if you have a spot online, or not necessarily, I don't know if you have some tips even right now of using Google Classroom or Google Drive that a lot of my students who are in student teaching have to use with iCEV.
Sure. So, you guys can still see my screen, correct? Okay, so one thing that you'll notice within each lesson, so like if I was to come in here and do like this basic reproduction of animals right here, and say I wanted my students to do this assessment, so assessment 1 here, you'll notice that each URL up here, that's going to be unique for you, and that's going to be unique for your class. So if you were to go into, say, like Google Class, and this is how Jillian and them did this, basically they just copied and pasted that link right there into Google Class. And basically when the students click on that, it then takes them to iCEV. They have to then log in, but then right after that, it's going to take them directly to the piece on iCEV that you want them to see. So instead of like showing them the full lesson, you can actually just break it down and say, okay, I want you to do this activity today. I want you to do this project, etc. Does that answer your question? Okay.
Well, Dusty, we're actually out of time, but I want to thank you so much for joining us. I know it's a little bit earlier out there than it is here, but I also want to thank you for providing this resource to our student teachers. It definitely gives them an advantage in the preparation and the planning process for their upcoming student teaching semester, and I know they really appreciate it. And we have an innovative group here, and I think that you'll see some good stuff come out of them being able to use this. So we really appreciate it.
Well, great. Well, thank you guys.
Thank you.
I guess in summary, now, do you guys go to the National FFA Convention?
They do, yes.
Make sure to stop by and see us at our booth. We'll have a big booth set up and everything there. So would love to kind of hear your feedback after you've had a chance to take a look at it. And then we'll also go ahead, when I get off the call, I'll give each of you one student license so you can access that portion. And then if you need more, then let us know. But we really like working with Penn State, and look forward to meeting you guys in person there at National FFA.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Dusty. And if you need anything, just shoot me an email and I'll get you whatever you need.
Okay, we'll do. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.